everyone, and welcome to An Emo Girl's Guide to the Galaxy, where we debate, rant, and curse too much. If you like books, sarcasm, and hate the patriarchy, then you've come to the right place.
Hey, I'm Erin, and I'm going to be talking about our updates and new releases in the book world. We've been talking about the series a lot, so I had to mention that the fourth Stay a Spell book called by Juliette Cross, the fourth book is coming out May 24th. It's called Always Practice Safe Hex. And this one is, so this is that like rom-com fantasy series. So but more heavily on the rom-com. So this is a witch and Grimm pairing. And the Grimms in this series are like kind of more mysterious supernatural. People don't really know a lot about them. So I'm really excited because we're going to learn more about what these supernatural creature people are, and a little bit about it. There's a public relations competition, so her and the guy are like in competition against each other. Forced proximity, okay, we love that. And then here's a little blurb. When Livy becomes an obsessive target of a dangerous warlock, Gareth proves just how powerful he truly is. So yeah, I'm gonna be picking that up as soon as it's out.
Can these be read as standalones? Like, I know it's a series, but does it follow like a storyline, or can people just like pick up anywhere they want?
I feel like it's more of there's an arching storyline. I wouldn't recommend it as a standalone.
Yeah. You could if you really wanted to, and you'd probably enjoy it, but you'd be missing some world building and such.
Yeah, and I do feel like there's like sort of a thread, like there was a little bit of a something going through that like in the third book had a bit of a resolution, but I feel like there's probably going to be some more with that. And like they're just setting up each next relationship throughout each book. So I do feel like it just makes sense to kind of like read them in order. But you could if that stuff didn't bother you, but that makes me twitchy to, to do that.
I would read the whole series too. Yeah. I'm just asking for anybody out there who is like, oh, this one sounds interesting, but maybe one of the other ones doesn't. Like, do they need to or not? So that's a good answer.
I mean,
now you have your answer.
You could.
I lean towards you.
I think you should read them all.
Yeah. All right, this next one comes out June 1st. We did talk about this in our previous episode, but I just have to bring it back up because it hasn't released yet, and it just sounds so fun. It's called West Side Love Story by Priscilla Oliveras. And it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling with a battle of the mariachi bands, okay? So it's Mariana Capuletta and Angelo Montero. It's set in San Antonio, Texas, and we have a couple blurbs here I just had to share. As their secret affair intensifies and the competition grows fierce, they're swept up in a brewing storm of betrayals, rivalries, and broken ties. Against the odds, they vow to bring peace, but sacrifices must be made, and consequences wait for two star-crossed lovers to make beautiful music together. And then another blurb says, a heart-stirring romance of star-crossed love, feuding familias, and the bonds of sisterhood. So, I mean, Romeo and Juliet with mariachi bands. I can't even, that's just amazing. The cover is, super cute, too. So, the more I just, kind of think about this one, I'm like, I think I have to do it.
I just really, if it's a rom-com, I can't have it ending the way that
I was going to say that. We can't have it end.
I was thinking that too.
Like Romeo and Juliet.
I'm a little nervous about that.
This needs to be redemption for the Romeo and Juliet story. There's mariachi bands. That's happy. There can't be death at the end.
I agree.
I think they just want to scare us the whole time.
Hopefully they know each other longer than Romeo and Juliet did too. It's like that lasted what?
Yeah. Hopefully they're not 14.
Yeah, and hopefully they're also older. They're not like children.
Grown-ups.
Yeah. All right.
Hopefully there's no poison involved.
Yeah, no poison, no stabbing. No, but I do hope there is a Mercutio. That would be good times. He's always...
He's my favorite.
All right, so I have 2 more releases for June 7th. The first one is the second Wilderwood book. It's called For the Throne by Hannah Witten. The first one was called For the Wolf, and so this is the sequel. So I'll give a little blurb about the first one, and then I'll give a blurb about the second one because I haven't read either, so I thought it was interesting to include. But so the first one's called For the Wolf, and it says, the first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf. For fans of Uprooted and The Bear and the Nightingale comes a dark fantasy novel about a young woman who must be sacrificed to the legendary Wolf of the Wood to save her kingdom, which sounds awesome. And then the second book, it sounds like the sister is trapped in a mysterious land of twisted woods, lost gods, and mountains made of bone, and the only clues to her rescue are a magic mirror and a dark prince who wants to bring the whole thing crumbling down. I mean,
I just like feel I should have read these.
Me
already,
too.
Or the first one because everybody was obsessed with it, and I just haven't read it.
The covers
yet,
are gorgeous.
I need to. They're so pretty.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I thought it was something else because the cover maybe looked slightly familiar to something, but yeah, I think I'm very interested in that.
I'm super interested. I think that I thought they were super YA in my head, and I was like, oh, don't need those. But I think they're not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Goodreads had them marked as both a young adult and adult, which they often do. So I'm not totally sure about that.
I don't know.
All right, the next one I have is Off Script by Ashley Marie. This one sounds fun. It's a fake dating rom-com with actors that are on like the same set, and she walks in on the guy cheating on his latest fling, and then like a big showdown occurs, and like gossip sites are involved, and it's like messing with their image. So PR steps in and decides, hey, let's have you guys have a fake relationship. This will set everything right and help your image and help with the press. And then I
love it.
LOL so hard in my head about that because okay, yeah, and then a little blurb said it's like Take a Hint, Danny Brown meets The Wedding Date. So for anyone who likes those, that just sounds like a good time, good tropes.
I want to know if the author has any insight into any of the real PR relationships out there. Like, does this follow the trajectory of an actual PR relationship?
Oh my god, I hope so.
The happily ever after, because they usually break up. But like,
I want to know so much about PR relationships. I'm here for that.
Yes.
There's a girl on TikTok who talks about all of that.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I wonder if it's the girl on TikTok.
We went down the rabbit hole.
Know. Yeah, I need to know.
We did. She really validated my feelings about Shawn Mendes and Camila
about
Cabello.
The paparazzi pictures where they're walking around with their
empty cups,
mugs, like cups outside.
That's so weird.
And they're not even like the to-go cups; they're like actual ceramic.
They're like mugs,
just like flippantly,
from,
just
like casually
holding it so wrong.
You know.
Like, sir, your coffee would be spilling out if there was anything in that cup.
Yeah.
I just like, why would you?
I hope that's incorporated.
Like really
in
bad
there.
staging.
Yeah, I hope there is like weird staging stuff like in this book. That would be really fun to read.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's do a around the room and figure out what everybody's up to this week. Erin, you go first.
Okay, so I just feel like I've been just blabbing about this series so much, but I finished the third book in the Stay a Spell series by Juliette Cross, and that one's called Witches Get Stitches. These titles are just brilliant, guys. I love them. That one I think was probably one of my favorite of the books so far.
Same.
So it's a witch and werewolf pairing. She's like a tattoo artist, and they're like in the first two books doing a lot of like sort of like enemies vibes. Like she's really like angsty.
You can tell they have a lot of sexual tension.
Yeah, and like that they had.
You think that they hate each other, and you don't know why.
Yes, you don't know what's going on, but it seems like she hates him, and he's like, "I'm gonna get her attention." So you're like dying to get to it by this book. Like, what is the deal? Mm-hmm. And he is like this swoony tattoo singer-songwriter, guitar player. He like performs at the bars, and I'm just obsessed. And so the setup is he gives her like rental space on his property to open up her tattoo parlor, and then he was part of like a werewolf gang, and the gang members show up, and I don't know, they're just so fun because it's like it is so a rom-com. Like the entire vibe of it is rom-com, but then it's like they're just werewolves and witches. Like it's so fun. And she does like these tattoos that like have like hexes and spells in them to like help people. Yeah. It's super fun. So I really
spelling tattoos
and
people's fun.
The smut in this one, it's amped up again. It's getting each book more and more, and it
gets
the page one starts off with a bang pretty much. So it's pun intended.
It really does.
It was really good. It was good.
I loved that one.
So yeah, I can't wait for the next one. That's coming out really soon.
So I finished Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and it was really like cute and adorable. I can confirm there were no mermaids in that book, and that was disappointing.
We're all very upset.
But the town has a very Hallmarky vibe to it, where like the town brings in the people it wants and it gets rid of the people it doesn't want. So like weird things happen, like there's a heavy fog that gets her trapped there to hang out with him more and stuff like that. And like all of a sudden acorns just start falling from the tree and like pegging these mean bitches. So that like there are no acorns in the tree. When you look up, there are no acorns, but they had gotten hit by a bunch of them. So like crazy, weird little things like that. So there's like a tiny bit of like town magic into it. So like that was fun.
Oh, like some
There's
like
no,
magical realism a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like a Hallmark thing where they're like, I don't know, the town just wants you here. But like there's never really an answer to it. It's just like the town keeps who it wants kind of vibe. So that part was really cute.
That's
and I was like,
fun.
oh, I'm glad that they added that little bit in.
Attack of the Acorns.
But overall, like it was a decent read. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't the worst. It was cute. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'm also being a nerd, making a Damon's Mountains themed Animal Crossing island.
Shout out to T.S. Joyce again.
T.S. Joyce,
Thank
if you're
you,
listening.
T.S. Joyce. I'm making an island. I have Sammy's bar finished, and I have like a little
It's so
lumberjack
cute.
area. And then I'm working on like the Bear Trap Falls area, the hidden waterfall stuff.
Yeah.
So I have that dug out, and I'm working on that too. So if anybody has any ideas, please let me know. I'm gonna nerd out and continue to do this. I have gotten a lot of bears and some wolves onto
I was
the
gonna
island.
say your villagers match too, right?
Oh yeah, I'm getting all matching villagers, except for I have this horse that I really just can't get rid of because I love her too much. So I'm trying to figure out if there was ever a horse shifter. Probably there was.
Maybe, yeah.
Also,
We
I
need to
have a
ask T.S.
crane,
Joyce.
and I don't know if I can get rid of the crane either. But I did get a squirrel.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you
And
see
then
like an
I think I need
alligator
to get-
or a crocodile or something.
Well, I was thinking I need to get a mouse for the mouse that's in the.
Yeah,
You know?
10 mouse.
Is it Nibbles? What is his? No, it's not
Yeah.
Nibbles. It's something like ball, like
It's dirty.
it's
Isn't it like nipples or something?
nipples. I don't
Or
know.
balls or something. There's
It's
something
something to
dirty.
do with balls, I thought. All right. So that's what I've been doing.
Anyway.
I'm a nerd. And yes, Animal Crossing about shifter romances. So there's
Yeah.
my theme.
It's a
folks.
stress reliever.
It's great.
Go
It
play
is.
Animal Crossing.
So fun.
There's nothing better than Animal Crossing for that.
All right, Loretta, what you up to?
All right, Dev and I, in preparation for this episode, read King of Battle and Blood, and I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah,
It
me
was
too.
so good.
I finished
And
it
I
in like
already-
a day and a half,
Damn.
and I haven't done
Oh.
that in a while. Yeah.
I'm excited
Yeah.
to hear more.
And I was texting her all my like, oh my god, he just did, I don't know, whatever, I don't want to spoil it, but I already pre-ordered the next book, and I'm so excited. And then I also read, I flopped around a while after that book because I loved it so much, and I had like a mini hangover. But I ended up reading Juliette Cross, actually. She
I
has
just
a
saw that.
vampire series, The Black Lily.
Ooh.
And I started reading that,
Is it
and it's like...
Rom-comming too?
It's no, it's like it's a Cinderella retelling, but with vampire royalty.
Oh.
Sold.
So like the prince is like all the royals are vampires, and she's a peasant who's trying to start like a revolution, and she
I love
tries to
those.
kill the prince. Ooh, she tries to kill the prince to like start the revolution, and then she ends up falling in love with him, and there's drama, and I like it.
That sounds fun.
Yay. I like it.
It's not like my favorite, but it's really fun, and I don't know. It's a good vampire book. That's all I got. I've really just been reading.
Same. It's my turn. All right, everyone. I'm back from vacation.
Yay.
I hope everyone missed me.
We did.
But since
It was
I've been
weird.
gone, I did do a lot. I did get a lot of news. So all of my updates, I'll just start with my hair. I dyed my hair again, and it's blue, and I love
Yes.
it.
It's dope as fuck.
Mhm.
I also got a new tattoo. I got a Naruto tattoo.
It's so cute. I love it.
It's like
So
a little ramen bowl with the little
I love it.
leaf village
So
design in the middle. And I also got a box from Simon Teen for Chain of Thorns. And so when this airs, it'll already be up on my page, but I was just so excited that I had to share that they even reached out to me to help them reveal anything for Shadowhunters, because as you know, I'm obsessed.
Yes.
So I got a really cool
So
blanket
cool.
with the cover of Chain of Thorns on it, and it's like my prized possession now. And then I also started listening to this girl called Taylor Acorn. She's a musician, and she's like my new emo girl crush.
Oh my god, yeah, she's really good.
She did like a cover of First Date by Blink-182, but wedding version. If Blink-182, if First Date was a wedding song, and it was so cute. And then I went down the black hole of listening to all of her original music, and it's very like Avril Lavigne, pop punky vibes. So if you're looking for like a new Avril Lavigne in your life, I suggest Taylor Acorn.
I love it.
Heck yeah.
No, those were cute. I liked it.
And she does a song with Arrows in Action, which is the band that I mentioned several episodes ago, and I was really excited. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Crossover.
So everyone add her to her playlists.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet.
Is it main topic time?
It is.
All right.
Are we ready
Today
for this?
we are talking about vampires, the bloodsuckers. And I was trying to think of a way to start this off, and I was trying to think when I was writing my notes of the first vampire books that I read. And I was wondering if you guys remember like the first vampire books that you read. Mine were when I was like a preteen, I was very into like YA Meg Cabot contemporary books.
Yeah.
And then I think the first thing I read was The Mortal Instruments. I read the Night World series by L.J. Smith. I was obsessed with that for a while. And of course Twilight.
I have a whole side story on Twilight.
We'll
can
get
I start there?
I have a weird relationship
I got
with Twilight.
Twilight
so
makes
my
sense
first
to start at Twilight.
it wasn't my first vampire, but
I read Mortal
it's a
Instruments
very
first.
prominent a data point in all of our history, I think.
Yeah.
The Mortal Instrument vampires are side characters though, so Twilight was kind of Night World was the first like main character vampire story that I read.
Yeah, I think I might have read some Goosebumps too that had vampires in them, but not anything that I can remember off the top of my head. But for me, Twilight specifically lives rent-free in my mind because in high school, I had a friend who told me to read the Twilight series, and she was like, oh my gosh, this series is so good. Like, it has vampires, and they have really cool powers, and, like, the main character gets powers at the end, and she's, like, really strong, and all of this cool stuff happens. Literally, that was the
selling ever
summary of Twilight that I got from somebody in high school, and I was like, cool, I'll go read this series. It sounds really fun. It has vampires. And then it turns out that it's a freaking love triangle that lasts for 4 books, and then her powers aren't even that cool, and I felt so
the power of self-control.
Betrayed.
Literally the power of self-control. They just give her
really
self-control.
No, she's a
that
shield.
Was like
the last
whatever.
My first dip into having someone give me a really bad review of a book and thinking that I was gonna like it, and I was like, wow, I can never trust you ever again with anything.
Your opinions are terrible.
Like,
that's it. We got it.
I have the same story with that, but our endings are kind of reversed because when someone all of my friends were reading it and they recommended it to me and they were like, oh my god, it's so good, you'll love it, oh my god, I'm obsessed with these books. And when I read them, only the first 3 were out, and I read them and I was obsessed with them. I was like, oh my god, this is the best series ever. Team Edward Cullen forever, I love him. Barf. And then the 4th book came out and it was absolute garbage.
Trash.
And I was like, what is this? What's wrong with me?
I have a weird one with Twilight because I want to say I was like my first summer home from college when like I read them. And it was because I came home from college and my mom had been at the pool somewhere, and she's like, I saw all these ladies reading this book, and I asked them what it was, and then my friend loaned me one. So my mom had bought all like the first 3, and then she was like, you've got to read this because I read it, and it's not the best, but you're gonna love it. And she just like wanted to share a thing. So I read the first one, and I was a snotty ass 18-year-old who was an English major, and I'm taking classic literature classes, and I think I'm the epitome of knowing what real literature is, Mom. So I come home from like freaking reading War and Peace, and I'm like, ugh, okay, well, I'll read this vampire book for you because I'm a snotty little shithead. And they were absolute trash. And I stand by that. They were not good. That fourth book gives me actual pain in my chest because it is such a train wreck of a book. But they're like canon for everything, and they did do a lot of good for our worlds. Like,
I was gonna
for the
say,
YA
at
world,
least
they
they
really
opened the
launched.
door.
They were a
They
catalyst
launched
for
a
a
big
lot of
thing.
stuff.
So as much as we can hate on them, they still were very important to the reason we have the books we have today.
Yes.
And the access we
And they
have.
got a lot of people reading too.
Yeah, they
Thanks
did.
to Stephanie Meyer, but
like,
also no thanks for
It's my mom's
doing us
fault.
dirty.
It's my mom's fault that I read these. It's my mom's fault.
I feel a little shocked right now because we have talked about Twilight so much, like, in the course of our friendship, but, like, having heard each of you tell your little Twilight stories, I'm going to tell mine. I feel like I have probably the least negative feelings towards Twilight. Like, I willingly picked them up on my own, and I loved all of them. I didn't even, like, and after I read the fourth one, I was like, that is weird, imprinting on a baby, but I was like, okay, it solves a love triangle. Like, I had a great time.
It's
So I started them, and then I read them again in college. I was like, I'm just going to reread them all again. And I think I've read them.
I do watch the movies sometimes
The
because
movies
they're
are
just
so
classic.
So I picked them up in college once I think I was a freshman in college, once the movie was like it hadn't come out yet, but it was like, you know, the trailers were everywhere. And I was like, I had been seeing for a while, like online, like Team Edward, Team Jacob. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But like, whatever. And then, they did really good marketing for that first movie, I feel like, where I was like, okay, I have got, like, this Edward guy is, like, making me feel things. I've got to read these
He's hot. Let's watch it.
So my roommate and I were like, well, we got to read the book. So I, like, for, like, a week, didn't go to, like, any of my classes. It's like my morning classes. I just stayed up, like, all night reading Twilight and then, like, slept all morning. And I read all the Twilight books. And then... I was like fully obsessed, and then we went and saw the movie, and I literally laughed out loud at the movie, how like terrible that I thought it was.
Oh, it's awful, but we love it.
But in such a fun way, and like I feel even more now, like more positive feelings towards the movies than I did when I initially watched the movies, because it's just like, I don't know, just like comforting nostalgia.
You go into the Twilight knowing that it's just comforting because it's from your past, but knowing that it's just going to be fun to laugh at and not, like, taking it seriously. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You're going to watch Twilight
I went to
today.
all the midnight showings of Twilight with my friends, and there's, like, a nostalgia vibe for me watching them now, because I think of, like, the midnight showings we went to and laughing at.
Like, that's just fun. I think that, like... We love to hate Twilight. It's just fun to make fun of it, but it's also like such a like milestone tracker in our generation's like just reading in general. Because like Hunger Games was out around then, and I remember reading Hunger Games and being fully obsessed.
Me too.
But Twilight was terrible, but I was like, oh, this is good. And my mom's like, you just like the people to die, or what is this?
The same thing happened with me with the Hunger Games. I read the first 2 books and I was obsessed, and then I read the last book and I was like, what the
Nope, I love
so
all of that.
I loved all of the Hunger Games. I have no issues with it.
I loved all of it too.
One quick little sidebar, and then I'll get back to vampires. But after the second movie came out for Hunger Games, my mother called me right as she came out of the theater in a full-blown panic, going, tell me Peeta lives, tell me Peeta lives. She was like hysterical outside the movie theater. A full-grown woman, hysterical outside the movie theater. I was like, Mom, I'm not going to tell you the end of it. And she's like, you've read the books, I need to know. And she's like screaming at me on the phone. And she's like,
well, he
Richard, we're going to the store now. And she went and bought the 3rd book and read the 3rd book immediately after walking out of the theater because she was so concerned. And
that's how you know they did their job
right.
Like
That was good. And she's like, this is the best thing. I've never been yelled at as she came. I wasn't even in the movie. She called me screaming from the theater about Peeta. Which is like, oh, my little Peeta pocket. We love it. Okay.
Peeta pocket.
It's just, those are the fun things from these type of books that we get. But vampires.
2 last things for Twilight.
I have a Twilight thing to say too.
If you want a good laugh, go watch the movies with Robert Pattinson's commentary because you can tell that he hates Edward Cullen. He hates everything about
hilarious.
Twilight.
He's spectacular.
Like, he is
tell me what you
best.
want. Tell me what we eat. Cheeseburgers.
2, if you haven't already, BuzzFeed, I think it was BuzzFeed, released an article where they use like an AI to recreate the characters based off of the descriptions of the book. So I literally
God.
copy and pasted the descriptions of the characters into this AI, and then the AI generated the
I need
characters.
this.
And Bella looks exactly like Stephanie Meyer. It's not
No!
funny.
Oh my god.
It's kind of disturbing how much the AI generated character resembles the author. Like, if you haven't seen that, like,
I'm
Google it,
literally
look it up.
looking at it right. I'm
Everybody
trying
needs
to find
to
it.
look at that at some point in their life.
I'm Googling it so that I can live react to this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
Yes.
BuzzFeed. If it's not,
It is,
please
it is.
yeah.
I'm sending you the link right now.
So
I'm excited.
everyone go do that.
Yeah. we need to check that out.
Because oh wow.
What?
That's so
Isn't it disturbing?
it really is. Here's both
Ew!
side by side, yeah.
What?
It's just her. Edward's hot though.
It looks like the Hermione version of Stephanie Meyer.
Doesn't it?
To me.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
I
hate it.
Oh my gosh, the CGI baby, the CGI
CGI
baby.
baby
I
is
don't know
so
why I
freaky.
need to see
I
the
hate the
CGI
CGI baby.
Why would they need to do that? I just.
You know, sometimes.
Ew, what it? Oh, Alex looks weird.
Oh my gosh, poor Charlie. Oh, that's rough. Okay.
All right, guys, our fans can't see this
So,
right now.
if we're gonna talk, I know, we're gonna talk about like what our first vampire books were.
Yes.
Mine were not
those were
Twilight. Mine was Lindsay Sands series, the Arnauts.
That sounds familiar.
Something. Yeah, it's like Love Bites.
I think it's like
specifically.
Argonauts or something.
Argonaut.
Yeah.
Argonaut.
Yeah,
yeah.
something French.
That sounds familiar.
But the cool thing about her vampires is that those vampires are not like the same, like they are descended from the lost city of Atlantis or something. And they
cool.
just have special DNA that is constantly regenerating. And that's why they have to have blood, because they're just trying to regenerate all their cells to keep their bodies in like prime condition or whatever. So they're not like dead. And they're just such a hyper like advanced race essentially that their DNA is like constantly fixing itself. So like if you get a scratch, it's going to immediately try and fix itself, but that costs blood essentially because your body's just trying to like replace all of the old cells immediately, and it's so your body's like in such hyperdrive that you have to replace with blood.
That's cool.
But like it's they're fun and they're like it's very smutty, in a good way, in an entertaining way. I do have a little bit of a moment where I just specifically remember she's like giving him a blowjob and chomp chomp, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
So you read this before you read Twilight?
I was gonna say this was your first vampire book.
I was in high school.
I didn't start reading smutty stuff until later in life. Like I think my 20s.
I saw a little purple paperback book at Target or something with a bat on it, and it was a cartoon bat, and it was called Love Bites, and I was like, that book's on sale. That looks really cute, and I just bought it, and then I read it, and I was like,
done the same thing.
This is
something.
Okay, I wanted to be like my mom, where I was going to check when I went to the library and I just like grabbed random books that were like Highlanders and stuff like that, because I thought it would be a cool book, and my parents didn't really police my reading, so I just like grabbed like older looking books that look like romance books. Well, I didn't know is my mom was like obsessed with Nora Roberts, still is, and I read all of the Nora Roberts books in high school and stuff, and she was like, Jessica, there are going to be some scenes in here, because my mom's super Christian, and just know that there are going to be some scenes in here that may not be appropriate for you to read. I trust that you'll skip over them. And I was like, yeah, totally going to skip over them.
Okay.
Did not skip
15,
over them.
Yeah.
You're like, it's important to the
no,
plot.
But I feel like that means something, because I feel like if I read books like that and then read Twilight,
I did it all the time in high school.
It would be very weird. Like that'd be like you're starting here and then going down. Like I feel like I slowly went up the rung of like doing different vampire books, and then it gets more explicit, and then they're biting the blowjob. I don't know.
But like when I was in high school, I mean, I was probably 13 when I pulled a book that had a sex scene in it, and I had never read a sex scene, and I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be reading this. And so I hid the book. And then my mom found it and was like, oh, what have you been reading? And she was like, we need to have a talk because I think that I know that your reading level is high, but we need to talk about why we're reading. Like, she didn't take the book away from me or anything, which was really good. Handled it in a good way, but she's like, we just need to talk. And I was like, oh, when I didn't understand stuff, I just skipped it, Mom. And I'm like 13. I'm like, I definitely read that, but I didn't know. I knew what I was reading, but I didn't like know it in a personal way. Like I was not a very understanding of sex. Yeah, like I was a sheltered little 13-year-old, but I knew what it was. I just didn't know what it was, if that makes sense.
I think the first smut I read was fan fiction.
Guys, I just
I love that.
I'm thinking about
I've been reading sex scenes for way long. I'm a Libra. I was like, there's a love story. We're going in. I don't know.
All right, I'm reeling this back into Vampire Smut though, because I'm really excited to talk.
Smutty Vampires was my kickoff, so I started in a dark hole.
As far as I can remember, I'm pretty sure Twilight was my first, and then, like we were saying, Twilight was, like, such a catalyst for, like, in YA, like, just the vampire, like, revolution. So there was, like, a ton of vampire books coming out in that, like, in the YA world. So I read the House of Night series and the Blue Blood series are the two that stand out.
I read those too.
So the House of Night series, I haven't finished it. I, for some reason, think I'm still going to go back and do it. That one was a little more, I would say a little more upper YA-ish, mid, because
I read the first, like, 4 of those books, and I can't even tell you what they're about.
So the thing I love about vampires and vampire books is that the lore can be so different book to book. Like, the main thing is that, like, the fangs and the blood drinking, but, like, other than that, like, there's just a lot of liberties that authors take, and it's just really fun to kind of see, like, what their vampire lore is. So in that series, you get, like, marked. I think the first book is called Marked, and you get, like, literally like a crescent moon or something, like, on your head. And then you have to, like, go live at this, like, vampire. I think, like, they know that you're going to be a vampire, so they mark you. Not, like, we're just going to pick random people. Like, I kind of forget how that works. But then you have to, like, go to this, like, school, like Hogwarts for vampires. And then you have to, like, sleep during the day and have all your classes at night because they're, like, get on vampire time. And there's, like, a sort of, like, a culling, like, a certain amount of them, like, just don't survive. Like, they just, like, bleed out and die, and, like, some of them do. So it's, like, crazy. Like, your best friend or your classmate could just, like, keel over, and at one point, like, something like that does happen. And then there's, like, a whole mystery, because then they're finding, like, ones that were supposed to be dead, but they're not dead. But throughout the series, she has, like, several different love interests, like, different boyfriends and stuff, which I feel like in that world, especially at that time, and even now, like, there's so much of, like, the one true love right away, right? Not like, oh, in this book she has this boyfriend and now she has this boyfriend, and, like, kind of working her way towards finding someone that she's, like, most compatible with, and, like, actually having sex with those people. It wasn't explicit smut, but, like, I liked it. It felt, like, more realistic. I mean, they were vampires, but so that one was really fun. And there's, like, a lot of, like, friendship bonding and that, like, they're, like, it's a lot about just, like, their found family is huge in that one. So that series was really fun. And then the Blue Blood series was, I just took those off my shelf because I flipped to the back and I was like, absolutely no, I cannot go back and ever finish reading these. But they were weird because they combine vampires and angel lore. And then also that, like, Roanoke mystery, the, like, Croatian mystery. Have you guys, there was that Croatoan. Yeah, there was that, town that just, like, completely, like, all the people went missing, and there was just that sign that said Croatoan, and they have no idea, like, what happened to them. So they pulled that in, and basically these vampires were getting, like, reincarnated, and then they had, like, their, like, enemies, which they called them the Croatoan, and they, like, wiped out that city. But, like, these people, like, came over on the Mayflower, and then they would, like, die, but then they would, like, save their blood, and then they would use the blood to then make, like, reincarnate them again. But then they were, like, angels, and the whole story was, like, they were the fallen angels. So then there's, like, hell and heaven, and, like, the part of, like, them falling is what made them into the vampires. And the main girl was, like, made new. She's, like, half vampire, half human. So, like, everyone has all these memories, and she's, like, she never was being reincarnated because she's, like, a new person. And they're like, you don't fucking belong. But then they're, like, teenagers. It's super weird, but I would not reread those, but...
sounds like a roller coaster.
That sounds like a lot.
It was a lot.
So going back to what Jess was talking about, and I guess Erin too, about the lore for vampires being different depending on what you're reading, I just started a new series called The Fae Guardians by Lana Peherchik, And I think she's an Australian indie author. And this whole Fae Guardian series has, I want to say, 4 planned trilogies in each. And the first one is Wolf Shifter Fae Guardians. And then the second series, which I just started, is a vampire series called Season of the Vampire.
Yes.
And the world that's built is centered around the concept that there was nuclear warfare on Earth, and like the Earth as we know it just like ceased to exist. Like these nuclear bombs just like wiped everything out, and because of all of the radiation, the humans and the animals that survived combined DNA somehow. Like evolution just happened, and from this evolution of radiation and nuclear war, like Fae became a thing. And like we did, like magic always existed on Earth, but we didn't know it because the magic was subdued by all of the stuff we did to the world to ruin it, like all of the metals and all of the plastics and all of the stuff that we created. So once everything was wiped out, magic came back, and then the magic keeps these new like creatures and creations from growing old. So all of these fae and vampires and like pixies and all of these things are a combination of what we know today and humans and the animals, and it's just really fun. Like it's an interesting story, and it's also smutty, so like of course. So if anybody is looking for like a new like fantasy somewhat sci-fi world, I say jump into that, because the vampires like next level. They can get drunk off of blood, and they like are obviously hot. Also, there's kind of like a time travel-ish feature, because some of the main characters were frozen because of what happened in our time. And so the magic or whatever in the current world kept them frozen until they were needed, and then they thaw out and they wake up and they're like, I'm not in Las Vegas. Like, where am I? Why is there green everywhere? Like, all of the forests were dead when I was alive. And then you find out that they're on Earth, just a different version of Earth, like 2,000 years later.
Oh my God.
And it's really fun. Like, I'm deep into this hole. So everybody,
Dev is
no, that
living.
sounds fun. Are they on? Are they on Kindle Unlimited or?
Yes, they're on KU. She does have the paperbacks on Amazon as well to buy, and I think she's releasing hardcovers with like more discreet covers, which I personally like. I just bought 2 of them because, as you all know, when I get obsessed, I'm done. But this is like my new JLA like romantic-y candy trash. Like I'm going to be fully obsessed with this.
Trash.
There's gonna be like there's elves, there's crow shifters, there's wolf shifters.
Okay, why do I love the crow shifter concept so much?
Yeah,
I don't
fun.
like it's T.S. Joyce's fault once again.
Yeah,
she does. T.S. Joyce has some vampires. There's like 2 or 3.
Shout out to T.S. Joyce.
Shout out to T.S. Joyce.
Love you, girl.
The vampires that are in there.
So,
because she has a vampire trilogy that's really cute.
If you're looking for vampire stuff, read that. I'm probably going to be talking about the series for the rest of time. So that's what I got.
I need to read this. I'm so down.
Okay, so I don't know if any of you guys read Vampire Academy. I read all of Vampire Academy. Did you see the movie when it came out?
I saw the movie.
Okay.
No, I haven't seen the movie or read the book.
So
I wanted to bring this up.
From a lore perspective, it's really fun because it's kind of, so Dev, it's very much like Covenant in the way that they're in an academy. They're the full vampires, the Magoi, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And then there are essentially like the halflings, but they're not really half vampire. They just have like some type of diluted blood where they are the guardians. So they literally train to protect the full vampires. Yeah, and they can be out be out in sunlight and stuff. So the main girl is like very much like Covenant is, where she's training to be protector of her very best friend, who is like a princess and is going to like run all of the stuff. But the vampires can essentially turn evil, where like their senses can take over and then they turn into just like bloodthirsty, crazy things. But both of them can do that. So even the halflings can get turned into like bloodthirsty, crazy. So it's so much like Covenant in all of those ways, where like those things they're like almost identical, just like one's gods and one's vampires. But it's this little vampire, it's an academy, and then some of them are awake during the day and some aren't awake during the day, and their classes are at different times. So they have like evening classes together, and then these guys go to bed and train on the like morning and stuff. But it's this crazy like culture, and then she falls in love with her teacher, basically, which is a whole thing. But
Gives
I
me
mean,
yuck
I think that
vibes.
she's well, like I
Is
think
it like
they're
Pretty
only
Little
like
Liars? You fall in love with your teacher vibes? Like, is it that kind of thing?
a little
where-
bit. They're like 3 or 4 years apart in age. They're
In
not
the
like
movie,
in some
he's young
dramatic.
and they're close
Yeah,
in age.
they're
Okay.
very close
he's
in
just a
age.
teacher.
He's just like a teacher for their like workout stuff. He's like training
She's also
her.
over 18, isn't she?
Yeah,
Where is
they're
she?
in like college level classes. They're already they're not like in their teens. They're in 18, 19.
College level vampire
Oh, why
classes.
did I think these kids were like young?
Yeah.
Well, there are young ones in there. It's like a full academy that lasts for a significant amount of time. But they're also going to live for a really long time, so there's this like I don't know, it's a different thing. She's still not supposed to be banging her teacher. That is a thing.
I mean, yeah. That's
For
she
sure. Well,
does.
but
Got it.
yeah, but she does. And then, but she has multiple love interests. I think the spin-off series is about one of those that doesn't pan out or whatever. But it's really a fun read if you're like, I think you would enjoy them. They were
Yeah, I
I
entertaining
wanted
at
to
the
ask
time.
about this.
They're
I feel like
good.
I'd like them.
Yeah, I think you would like them. I feel like they're executed extremely well, and like, yeah, just some crazy stuff happens. It's wild, but yeah.
I wanted to ask about this because I feel like they were so popular and
Yeah.
I never read them. And
Yeah,
I've
same.
been kind of.
They're
watched
good.
the movie. I actually watched the movie not that long ago, and
Uh-huh.
it was really. It was fun. It was like.
Wait,
Yeah.
aren't they
a
redoing
good
this?
trash movie?
Aren't they redoing it as a TV show, or they're
Oh, I
doing
hope
I
a
think
new
so.
they
one?
are.
Like, I think that it's getting
Okay.
Something
Rebooted.
about
Well,
that is particularly
it's
my
fun.
memory. Yeah.
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 So definitely read those. They're fun.
And
Okay.
I was wondering if I should read them or not.
Yeah, we should.
I like them.
I feel like
I would reread them.
I mix them up in my head a lot with the Vampire Diaries, which I also didn't read.
I have this on my
Oh.
list too.
But so those
Did
I did not
everybody
read
read
those
theirs?
books.
no, and
I did not read the books, but I live for that show.
I watched
guys.
a little bit
I
of the
live for that
show. I did not read the books.
I have seen all of it so many times. I am fully obsessed with that show. It is a problem.
I started the show first, and then I went to go get the books because I realized that it was based on a book series. But I think that I didn't finish this book series because I bought them out of order because they're not very clearly stated on the book covers, like what order to read them in. So I picked one up and I started reading it, and I was like very confused as to why
What's
they
happening?
were like. And they're also very different from the show. So as I was reading it, I was like, why are there different dimensions? Like, Bonnie's a redhead with curly hair, and she like is like asleep in a coma, dreaming about something, and I don't know. It was just from what I recall, because I don't have a very clear memory of my reading experience, but from what I recall, it's very different from the show, and I have no clue like how they strayed that far off. I was like, this is totally different.
They ran in the direction that was going to be better for the show, which normally happens. I mean, look at those. All shows do that for the most part, but
yeah,
I never tried to read them because I liked the show so much that I was like, we're not going to go there because you're probably not going to like the books if they're not perfect.
Yeah.
And I've been told from a lot of people they're just not that great. But I really love the show so much that I don't want to mess it up.
I stopped watching the show, if I'm gonna be honest, not because it wasn't good, because I hate Elena and the actress. I don't hate the actress personally. I just don't like her acting.
You saw her in Degrassi, and she made you mad.
Yes, I
and...
hated her so much.
Oh, no.
Have we talked about this? Or are you reading my mind?
Yeah, we've talked about it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So another series that I actually tried to read and a book that I just had to put down because I was like, this is not good, is Charlaine Harris, True Blood. I
was going to mention
picked up the first book
Yeah.
and I was like, I love the show. I'm going to read these books. And this was within the last year. And I put that book down about halfway through and was like, never again.
No, I have it on my shelf and I've never read it, but I was obsessed with the True Blood show.
I couldn't do it.
I never finished the show either. Whatever. But
I didn't.
I was.
Yeah. So
hard into
basically,
it.
we're saying our vampire stories are really hit or miss with us because
Yeah.
I read, specifically for this episode, I read the first book in the Sons of Vlad series, which is also on Kindle Unlimited.
Mhm.
So if you're listening, save your time, like PSA.
Don't
But
do it.
the first book is called House of Vampires, and I was like, cool, there's gonna be multiple vampires, gonna be a whole series. Absolutely not. The main concept is that the main girl, she's 19 by the way, 19-year-old girl, has to move into her grandma's house for 6 months in order to get, like, her inheritance.
Uh-huh.
And then when she moves in, she finds out that her grandma actually wanted her to, like, get a vampire mate and have a baby to save magic. And so the whole first book is, like, her going out on dates with all of these different vampires, trying to decide which one she wants to have a baby with.
Oh.
And also the writing is just not good. Like, she keeps, the character is talking to herself in her head, and she goes, like, and I'm not a dumb person. And the amount of times that she says, and I'm not a dumb person, and then, like, says something dumb is just beyond me. And, like, every single chapter,
you really are. Quit telling yourself that.
Every single chapter, she has to remind everybody that she went to college for a semester and that she was an anthropology major. And so by the end of the book, you have now heard that she's an anthropology major, like, at least 20 times. And I'm like, all you had to do was say it once. I don't know why I would have forgotten between now and, like, the next 20 pages, but
Nope.
like, okay, cool.
We know.
The ending,
we know.
Yeah.
We get it.
I almost stopped reading halfway through, and you guys know I never do. I, like, was so close to stopping, and I was like, I just have to finish it just to know. Like, I have to know if there's any, like, redemption for this book. And the ending does have a plot twist. Like, you find out, like, she has other like, the main character has other family members. You find out there might not be, like, one interpretation of this prophecy about, like, her saving magic and, like, that she's a witch and she has certain powers. But overall, I'm not going to continue that series. Wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah, that's
No, thank you.
Yeah,
Nope.
it was a no. And then at the end, they're like, you have to choose one of us. And I'm like, we're still here? Like, all of this stuff just happened, and we're still trying to make her choose a vampire to have a baby with?
That's
like, I don't
awful.
understand.
That's awful.
I don't like it at all. That sounds not fun.
No.
So anyway, if anyone's out there who was thinking about reading The Sons of Lad, just don't.
Why do I
also,
wanna
the
hate read it a
vampires
little bit?
The vampires dress, so they're in modern times. And the vampires have been obviously around for time, and they're rich, and they have businesses, and one of them, like, makes planes, but yet they decide to dress the way that they dressed when they were alive, with, like, their frilly shirts, and, and, like, and they're all different, they're all descended from, like, different ethnicities, which is fine. Like, one of them is French, one of them's Chinese, one of them's, like, Russian, I think,
Right.
and they're all from different times, but they all dress in modern day the way that they dressed when they were alive. And the girl was like, yeah, he was wearing, like, you know, a frilly shirt that you would wear in France in, like, the 1800s, but he made it look so good. And I'm like,
No, he
no,
didn't.
nobody walking around would look good in a frilly shirt. Like, I'm
not a
sorry.
Yeah.
What?
Tev is like, absolutely
The
no.
thing is, like, if they were... Did they have their, like, powdered wigs?
No,
Interview
no.
with the Vampire is
Were
really
they-
in my
He
head
did,
right now. Interview with the
but he
Vampire, the
did
movie,
have-
is, like, right here.
Like the trash version of.
No, he
Yeah.
did have
The
his
vampire.
long blonde hair, though, that he tied back in, like, his little ponytail.
Oh
With
my
the ribbon.
God.
Like, that was a thing. Yes,
Aw.
like, that was a thing.
Just
And
man bun that, dude. Just man bun it.
Yeah, seriously.
It was just too much. It was not my vibe. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Anybody out there
that
who read them
really...
and liked them,
I was thinking this would be a fun
That's
hate
upsetting.
read up until you said the clothing thing, and I would not survive
gonna be a
that.
But
no
she's
for
an
you guys.
anthropology major, right?
Yeah, she's like, oh, I was an anthropology major for a semester.
One
I know
semester.
exactly where you're
For
from.
a semester.
Yeah. yeah.
Dude, in your first
I
semester,
retained so
they
much
make you
information.
take... If anyone has been to college knows, like, your first semester of school, you're not taking...
Everybody has to take anthropology.
No, but you're
as
also-
a gen ed
Yeah.
class.
But you're also not taking any of your, like, actual major classes
Major
that you're,
classes.
like, learning stuff in your field.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, go take this, like, art history class and this biology
Yeah.
class and, like...
I
fucking shit
definitely
you
had to take
hate.
anthropology my very first semester because it was a gen ed class that literally everybody has
Yeah.
to take.
Ugh. And then she always says,
And you learn
oh,
so much, right?
I don't remember any
I'm
of it.
not dumb. I'm just lazy. That was like the main character's like main line. I'm not dumb. I was just lazy, and that's why I left. And I'm like, this is not good for
No.
any 19-year-old who's gonna go out and like read this vampire book about this girl who dropped out of college to
I
go
wanna
live in her
hate read it.
grandma's house.
I want to
And then,
hate
like,
read it.
The grandma says if you want your money, you have to like get with one of these vampires and have a baby to save magic. And I'm like, this concept is just not.
I'm gonna hate read it. I'm gonna read it. I think I need to. This sounds like, I mean, I just had the best hate read of my life, but I think I might need to do it again.
If you get past book 1, let me know if it gets better, because I didn't have much hope for it after.
I doubt
Guys,
that I will.
we have to read the Crave series.
Yes, that's what I want to do. I want to read the Crave series.
We need to
by Tracy Wolff.
And then have an episode.
That is about vampires, right? It
Maybe
looks
we'll
like
love
it's
it. Maybe
vampire.
it won't be a hate read.
It is, and I think there's also an academy in that series based off of the pictures I've seen from people, but I'm not 100%
I don't even know.
Because it's everywhere, and there's so many. There's like 6 or 7 books now, right? Like there's a bunch of them.
It's not great, but I keep seeing it everywhere.
I heard it's terrible, but I want to read it. I don't know why. I just really feel obligated.
It's one of those book series though about vampires that you either really hate or you really love. Because I've seen the opposite too. Like I've seen people who are like, this Crave series is the best thing ever, and I'm like, I don't really know.
It doesn't seem like my vibe, but I really do want to, and it also is YA, and so I'm probably going to not like it, because that TikTok you sent was so funny. So for me and my I don't like YA anymore vibes, Loretta sent this TikTok that was the funniest.
Oh yeah, it's from the Books and Bitches
ever.
podcast.
Yes.
We'll link it out.
I loved it. Oh,
I saw it. I was like, "Oh, look, it's Jess."
If you're like me, we can wrap things up on the vampire talk to get to our game soon. But if you're like me and you do appreciate a YA book every once in a while, one of the vampire YA books that I have read that I did enjoy, but I haven't finished the series, is called The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh.
Oh yeah,
I read that. I read that.
Yeah, it's really good.
It was good.
It's set in 1872 New Orleans, so obviously it has that like gothic old school vampire vibes that like most people are used to, but it's not super spicy because it is YA, but the story is really good, and you have like the underground mafia of like vampires and other things that go bump in the night, and then the main character is obviously human, and she's trying to like figure out what's going on in the city because she's new to the city. And I enjoyed it. It's really good. And also Renee Ahdieh, I feel like, is an emo queen. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, absolutely.
She just has that vibe about her.
I remember reading that book, and it's about to get spicy, and then something happens to interrupt everything, and I feel like I got blue balls from it. But it was a really good scene. I remember this happening, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna happen. And then something happens to like interrupt, and I was like, oh man. But no, that I remember liking that quite a bit.
Yeah, and I've only read the first book, but I think there's 4. I think there's 4 now. 3 or 4.
Right.
But it's a good start, and I do want to finish it. I just haven't. So if you're looking for something that's like not super smutty and you're just trying to like dip your toes in, I think that's a good choice.
I wanted to shout out a few books too. Piggybacking off of that, I wanted to shout out the Simon Snow books, because I'm obsessed with that, and one of the main characters is a vampire. But it's also at an academy. It's YA, so disclaimer there. But it's a gay enemies to lovers, and I've read the first 2 books, and I'm obsessed with them. And I'm scared of the 3rd one, so I haven't read it yet. But,
that's Carry On and Wayward Son, right?
Yeah, Rainbow Rowell is the author of those, but I love them. They're super fun. It's basically like a Harry Potter retelling, but
with vampires.
I like them kind of better now that I'm older. But anyway, and then I wanted to shout out Immortals After Dark, which is an adult series, but they have everything, including vampires. The first few books are about vampires, so those are really good.
They are.
Is Shadows, The Shadows Between Us, is that a vampire book?
No.
Is he just like
powerful? He just has powers. He just has like
okay.
magical, unclear magical powers. That's all you know about him.
Loretta, were you starting to read? Were you starting to read the Black Dagger Brotherhood?
Oh yeah,
That's
I started
vampires.
that, and then
I've read so many of those.
That was when, because I finished King of Battle and Blood, and then I had like a mini book hangover, and I was trying to find something else that would do it for me, and I started that, and then it wasn't doing it for me, so I don't know.
Yeah. We should just go back to King of Battle and Blood. Like, everybody read King of Battle and Blood. I know people hated it for whatever reason, but I was really obsessed with it. It goes 0 to 100. Like,
immediately.
Yeah, like you're a few chapters in and you're already like, okay, they barely know each other, but they're going at it. I'm cool.
Okay.
Like, keep going.
Sounds good to
Keep
me.
it going.
Sounds good to
This
me.
sounds like my vibe.
Well, I cannot let this episode end without mentioning my favorite. That I know no one else is on my team about this yet. But the Night Huntress series. I know I've mentioned it before, but I stand by it. I stand this series. I love everything about it. And she has all these spin-off ones. And I know Jess has and Loretta have their problems with it. But I love this series. And I binged these in 2000. I binged these in 2016, and then I had the same kind of feeling that you're having, Loretta, like that book hangover and like needing to fill the vampire void. And I picked up 3 other different like vampire series: Crimson Moon, which is the Crimson Trilogy by J.A. Sarr, a Dark Prince it's the Carpathian series by Christine Feehan, and then Guilty Pleasures, which is the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series by Laurel K. Hamilton. And I never picked up any of the other books in those series.
I think I read
and I don't remember almost anything about them. So clearly they did not hit the mark for me, but I will go to my grave saying that I love the Night Huntress series.
I read a Laurel K. Hamilton book, and I can't remember if it was that one. And
I did not. I remember...
I did not.
The only
like
thing I remember of those 3 is that I know I didn't like the Anita Blake one, which is the Laurel K. Hamilton one. But the other 2, I'm like, I don't even remember them at all. But I read them literally. It's like my Goodreads. It's like all the Night Huntress books, and then it's like those 3 right after it. And then I never picked up more from those series, so they clearly weren't
The
good.
only thing that I remember about the Anita Blake book is that there's a guy who I can tell is a love interest later on in the story, which is part of the reason why I was like, nope. He has tentacles.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
I'm out.
Tentacles.
Yeah.
He has tentacles.
Yeah. Nope.
It's a no for me.
Yeah.
And they have like a sexual tension thing, like a moment, and I was like, this is gonna happen later, and I can't be here for this. This is not my
Does
gig.
tentacles have little like suction cups on the bottom of them?
I can't remember.
I don't know why I asked these questions.
Probably.
The answer is
Like it matters. He does have
probably,
tentacles,
and
Jessica.
The answer is we don't need that in our lives.
No, we don't. We don't need tentacle.
I just remember there was a man with tentacles. And
That's
I was like,
a-
You think that would stand out to me, but
I'm having
clearly
like Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Do you
like,
fit?
Yeah.
not.
flashbacks?
Oh God.
Could you imagine?
Okay.
But-
And on that note of tentacles,
But I still stand by
We
Night Hunters.
the language, like, has she ever heard someone from England talk? I'm
He's
curious.
He's a vampire from old times.
I mean, I know that. It's
I don't
really,
know.
really.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a fair criticism. I'm still obsessed.
All right. Well, I am going to
I'll
wrap
get
things
there.
up with vampires. Everyone has our recommendations and also the ones we don't recommend you read, aka tentacles. But
No tentacles.
our game today is it an emo boy or is it a vampire? Because is there really any difference between the two? We're gonna find out. So
Absolutely not.
So today
Coin.
I have quotes or song lyrics, and they may be from emo boys, they may be
I'm
from
excited.
vampires, and you have to guess if it was a vampire or if it was an emo song lyric. Some of them will be
I'm
super
ready.
easy. I just had to add them because they were hilarious, and I was like laughing at myself putting them into the spreadsheet. And some of them I think are a little bit harder. So which one do I want to start off with? Okay. Are you guys ready for our first one? Okay.
Uh-huh.
I don't love you anymore is all I remember you telling me. Never have I felt so cold.
Oh, that is My Chemical Romance.
I was gonna say
It is a lyric, but it's not My Chemical Romance. It's Blood to Bleed by Rise Against.
Oh, it's not? Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's bad. I was thinking it's the I Don't Love You Anymore
No.
song. I don't know why.
But I could fully see a
Yeah,
vampire
exactly.
saying that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know that I had to stop for a minute and
The
think
amount
about
of
It
it.
feels
emo
right.
songs that you will find if you type in like songs about blood or songs about vampires, like this, I'm just saying, emo song lyric or vampires. you
No,
never
like-
know.
Falling in Reverse has a song called, like, I'm not a vampire or something. I'm a vampire or something.
Okay, are you
It's
ready for the next
true.
one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what it means to be loved by death?
I feel like that's a vampire.
Yeah.
Loretta, what's your guess?
Lyric.
It feels vampire-y.
It is from Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, we'll throw in a fun one. My hatred for you runs so deep, it's difficult to pinpoint its origin.
Vampire.
I'm gonna go vampire because I don't know how you rhyme origin.
It sounds like something you say.
Yeah, I'm gonna say vampire.
It's Klaus from the Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
Yes.
I love him.
love this game.
Ugh, this is a fun game.
Okay. You could slit my throat, and with my one last gasping breath, I'd apologize for bleeding on your shirt.
Oh, yeah. Taking Back
Taking
Sunday.
Back Sunday.
Oh, man.
I was Taking Back Sunday.
We're all looking at you like,
But
Black
Black
is
I had
live.
to throw it in there, though, because it's like, a vampire would say that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He would be.
Maybe
he would
he
actually
is.
do
Do
that.
we
He'd
know?
be gasping.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry, you sure?
I love it.
Oh, man.
That's
Okay,
amazing.
okay.
Yes.
Can
Those
you
two
take
guys.
this spike? Will it fill our hearts with thoughts of endless nighttime?
I feel like lyric.
Lyric?
Jess, you have a guess?
I don't have an answer. I'm gonna go vampire just because I have no idea.
Vampires Will Never Hurt You by My Chemical Romance.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm telling you.
Yes. Each time you say these,
I know,
try to
I'm
picture
trying
a
to
person
say it so
saying
that way
them
it doesn't
and see how
sound
it
like
feels.
melodic or non-melodic, so I'm trying to just
Right.
read it straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are worse things out tonight than vampires.
That
That
is,
was a person. That was a fictional vampire.
yeah.
I want to say lyric.
It's Blade.
I think.
Okay.
Blade.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Oh yeah.
I love Blade.
Well, now that I know.
I just rewatched all
Okay.
those recently.
Each day gets more and more like the last day. Still, I can see it coming.
Lyric. I don't know.
I'm gonna go lyric, but I feel like a vampire could have said that. But
Yeah,
lyric. That's a
that could
really
go
good
either
one.
way.
It's taken
Oh, the hard one.
to use. Sing it in your head. Now just sing it in your head, and you're like,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
it's like-
love the use. Why did I recognize it?
This
Okay.
is upsetting.
Well,
I can't even read this next one. Okay, what if I'm not a superhero? What if I'm the bad guy?
it's okay. We know.
This is the skin of a killer, Bella.
Yeah, that would be our good friend Edward Cullen.
What do we eat?
It is.
Also, isn't he having that conversation where he's like handing her an apple and being like, "Stop falling all over the place. Stop tripping."
It is, in
human."
fact, Edward Cullen, for anybody who didn't know. Okay,
Yeah.
I have
Emo
two more.
Arpads
Okay.
for life.
So give them blood, gallons of the stuff. Give them all that they can drink.
Oh, that's...
I'm uncomfortable. I'm gonna go lyric though.
I'm gonna say vampire because that's weird.
Yeah,
It's
I'm going
actually
vampire.
a My Chemical
I'm going
Romance song
lyric.
lyric from the song Blood.
Ew. We don't want to drink blood. That's
Gerard,
weird.
we
I
need to
think
have a talk.
The
Maybe he
point,
is
the moral of this game is that My Chemical Romance may in fact be vampires and we just don't know it. And if
Yes.
they are, yeah.
We don't have proof that they're not.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
true.
also like to submit Ronnie Radke for that, because he has
Yeah.
a song that says it's called "I'm Not a Vampire," and it says "I'm not a vampire,"
I mean,
but I feel
that
like
might
one.
just be reverse psychology.
So-
Kylie says.
He really is.
Yeah,
Right,
he's trying to trick us.
definitely is. And then he made a popular monster song, so like,
And our last quote for the
There you go.
day, I'm rounding it out with everyone's favorite. Do I dazzle you?
do I?
Do I? Do I?
Do I?
This hurts me.
Oh my god. A
And
classic.
for everybody
I-
who doesn't know why
Do
we're
I
acting this way, it's
dazzle
because it
you?
is in fact, again, Edward Cullen.
Edward Cullen.
Edward Cullen.
He's a disco ball. He's a vampire disco ball.
That is probably
he
one of
dazzles
the
everyone.
of all the vampire lore. That one's so weird. They just are sparkly. Like what?
So weird.
I mean, you can take liberties, but that's
Just
glitter?
straight up
Even
lure.
with
Everything
glitter?
about me lures you in. My smell, my skin.
Does it?
The skin of a killer.
But if I could pick of all the hot vampires I've read, I probably don't want the one that's glittery in the sunlight.
Yeah, that was an odd creative choice on her end, but
that's definitely better than they burst into flames in the sunlight. So I guess if I had to pick one or the other, sparkly versus exploding in the sunlight,
I might like it more than Buffy vampires that's faces morph. Because that one, take a hot guy and make him creepier.
No, those
I don't
are gross. We want them to just be hotter.
The prosthetics alone,
Remember when Angel turned? He was like, "Don't look at me." She's like, "I love you anyway."
And then he's like the Beast before he turned into a human.
Yeah.
He's just like,
not hot.
All right. Well.
All right.
The moral of the story is
Spike forever. That's how we'll end
boy
this.
band, you might also be a vampire. If you're out there, let us know. We'll interview you anonymously.
Yes.
But yeah, this was a fun episode. I hope everybody liked talking with us about vampires, and we hope you listen in next week. Follow us on all of our social channels at Emo Girls Guide, and we will see you later. May your day be blessed with main character energy.
Main character energy.
Oh god, we're stupid. I love it.